It was my third time undergoing IVF egg retrieval, and David Miller wasn't there with me. He was working late. Halfway through the night, I woke up in pain, finding my hands and feet completely swollen, my abdomen filled with ascites, distended like an 8 months pregnant woman's belly. I could barely breathe in my chest. Panicked, I fumbled for my phone and called him. It rang for a full minute before it was picked up. It wasn't him. It was a strange woman. "Hello?" Her voice was young, tender, and full of languid passion. "Who is this?" "David Miller, I can't breathe." "Naughty, still wearing clothes?" Along with the woman's playful moan, the call was cut off. After the call, my vision went black. The intense pain from my abdomen sent me collapsing to the floor. The horror I'd only ever heard about was happening to me. Gathering my strength, I crawled desperately towards the doorway, managed to pull the door open just enough to yell help, and then fell into boundless darkness. When I woke again, a tall figure sat by the bed. It was Chris, the young doctor who lived next door and lived alone. He clearly hadn't slept all night, with large dark circles under his eyes. "Emily, why are you alone? Where's your husband? Don't you know if I hadn't been walking the dog last night, you would have?" He stopped mid-sentence when he saw me, looking so helpless. He fell silent. How could I forget? Looking at my abdomen, swollen like a 7 or 8 month pregnancy, I was still terrified. Remembering the messy sounds I'd heard through the phone from David Miller's end last night, I still held on to a sliver of hope that I had imagined it. It wasn't until I opened my phone and saw the 15-second call record that I finally couldn't hold back my tears. "Dr. Chen, thank you for bringing me here. I'll send the money via payment app." I asked him to go back, saying I was much better and David Miller would be here soon. After he left, I opened my phone. I didn't dare look while he was there, afraid of losing control, afraid of being embarrassed. David Miller hadn't come home all night. About an hour after that phone call, he started texting me. There were over 100 unread messages. "Emily, why did you call me? I missed it." "I was working late," a colleague answered. "Are you okay? Were you scared being alone?" "I'll be home as soon as I finish working late." "Emily, I miss you too." After countless messages and declarations of love, there were 2 transfers, $520 and $1,314. The time was 6 in the morning. Tears suddenly started falling, until I was sobbing uncontrollably. David Miller knew. He knew what I had heard last night. Someone doesn't suddenly feel guilty, nor do they suddenly pour out affection like that. He was usually a quiet person. I barely heard him say "I love you" once a year. "Did you have a nightmare?" "Sweetheart, I bought you some flowers, they're by the doorway, remember to get them. I'll come see you as soon as I get back." I stared at these 2 sentences and the later additions for a long time, not replying. A wave of nausea rose in my chest. Unprompted declarations of love were nothing more than an attempt to soothe a guilty conscience after doing something wrong. I covered my abdomen with a blank look on my face as the doctor pushed the door open. "Ms. Lin, you have ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, OHSS. It's a serious condition. You have ascites in your chest and abdomen, low albumin, and myocardial damage. Do you remember having surgery last night?" The doctor's voice was clear and piercing in the quiet hospital room. "I heard about the critical situation last night. David Miller's phone was unreachable, and no one was there to sign for me. They could barely draw blood. I almost didn't make it through." I remembered signing something while I was semi-conscious, almost being shaken awake violently. This year was David Miller and my 3rd time doing IVF. The previous 2 times I had pregnancy loss. For his dream of having a child, I gritted my teeth and persisted every single time. I got fertility shots again and again, the needle marks on my belly were countless. I took handfuls of pills, lying on the cold equipment, alone and helpless. Money flowed away like water, and mother-in-law's tone grew increasingly harsh. David Miller's disappointed look after each failure. I had gotten nothing in these past few years, but I thought at least I had love. Now it seemed I had been too confident. Even after the surgery, my abdomen was still greatly distended. The doctor looked at me and sighed. Your condition is like this. It's already 9 in the morning. Where is your husband? Why hasn't he come to be with you? He's very irresponsible. Should I help you call him? Afraid of bothering the doctor, I refused. He instructed me again, your condition is not good right now, you need to stay in the hospital. It's best to find someone to take care of you. I nodded in agreement. After the doctor left, I sat alone in the hospital for a whole day. David Miller didn't call even once. Finally, I found a caregiver myself. After starving all day, I finally managed to eat some soup. In the evening, David Miller rushed over. Emily, why didn't you tell me you were in the hospital? As soon as he came in, he rushed towards me and hugged me tightly, trembling slightly all over, looking shaken and pale. Even his eyes were red. Why didn't you tell me you were so serious? Why didn't you reply to my messages? If I had known, I wouldn't have been working late. Why are you so careless about your own safety? Even if you don't care, I do. I didn't say anything, my mind replaying everything I had heard from him last night. I quietly watched him bustling around. He carefully put away my things in the hospital room and then went to the nurse's station to ask the doctor about my condition. Hearing that I had almost didn't make it through the surgery, his face turned instantly pale, and he slapped himself hard. Emily, if something happened to you, I wouldn't want to live either. I quietly stared at my phone, lost in thought. David Miller just assumed I was still in shock and scared. He sat by my bed, grabbed my hand, and intertwined our fingers. With his other hand, he made a call. Notify everyone, I won't be going to the company for the next 2 days. I need to be with my wife. Let the deputy handle everything, don't call me. I looked at his fingers, fair and slender, wearing the old wedding ring covered in scratches, just like when I had put it on him 10 years ago. It was as if nothing had changed. He couldn't sit still for a moment. Within 10 minutes, he had sorted everything out and even drove 10 kilometers himself to buy me the soup I loved most. I leaned against the headboard, and he sat by the hospital bed, patiently feeding me spoon by spoon. He blew gently on each spoonful of soup, tested the temperature with his lips, and then carefully fed it to me. Emily, we can have a child a few years later. I was really scared seeing you suffer so much. If you left me, how could I live? His eyes were red, and he even said I had suffered for him. David Miller, actually, I called you last night. I finally spoke. A flicker of panic, almost imperceptible, flashed in his eyes. The hand holding the soup spoon paused. I was working late last night, I pulled an all-nighter, it was too busy. Maybe a new intern assistant answered the phone. We're working on a new short drama project, you know how popular those CEO romance stories are lately. His excuse was perfectly crafted. But he didn't know. The more perfect and flawless something is, the more false it is. I looked down at my abdomen. It was scattered with fist-sized bruises, scars from needle marks, big and small. My eyes stung with tears. Excuse me. The door suddenly opened, and a strong scent of white flowers instantly filled the hospital room. A young, hesitant figure carrying a canvas bag suddenly pushed the door open and came in. The moment our eyes met, a tremor ran through me. It was her. She was the girl from last night. She was holding a fruit basket, and there was a hint of undeniable smugness and provocation in her eyes. David Miller's face darkened. He immediately stood up and low-voiced scolded her. Didn't I tell you not to come to the company? Don't you understand? She clearly hadn't expected to be scolded. Tears immediately welled up in her eyes. Just like that, they came. Such a full range of emotions. David Miller, who is she? Why is she so upset? My words were sarcastic, and David Miller's face grew even darker. Facing my calm gaze and David Miller's grim expression, the girl immediately panicked. She lowered her head, her voice full of sobs. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. I just wanted to come see Mrs. Miller. I'm sorry, Ms. Lin, I overstepped. You should call me Mrs. Miller, I said, looking at her coldly. She didn't speak, biting her lower lip tightly, and after a choked sob, she put down the fruit basket and rushed out the door. David Miller didn't chase after her but anxiously tried to explain to me. Emily, don't overthink it. She's a new intern at the company, Jessica. She just graduated, she's still young, maybe she doesn't understand social etiquette, don't mind her. She has a good heart. A good heart. I looked at the fruit basket she had brought. It was packed full of pears. Her demeanor was so boastful it was practically plastered on her face. What a clumsy act. I was very weak and fell asleep before 8 o'clock. David Miller held me, his breathing calm and slow. The entire hospital room was pitch dark. There was a rustling sound. Sensing that I was asleep, David Miller quietly got up, carefully put on his clothes, took his phone, and went out. It wasn't until the door closed that I opened my eyes. Less than 2 minutes later, I got up, pushing my enormous abdomen, enduring the pain, and got onto a public wheelchair, inching my way to the elevator. The moment the elevator doors opened, I frantically rolled the wheelchair and hid behind the wall. David Miller was standing in the lobby. I saw his back, embracing Jessica, passionately holding her head. They stood there in the busy lobby, kissing without restraint. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that they finally pulled away, still looking longing, and went to the parking lot. The pain in my abdomen and that suffocating feeling surged up again. It felt like 1,000 knives were twisting inside my belly. Every step I took was difficult, I walked bent over and pathetic. Even so, I couldn't give up. I had to see the true face of the man I had loved for 10 years with my own eyes. In the parking lot, only one car was still lit. Get in! In the gloomy underground parking lot, David Miller's gentle demeanor from when he was with me was gone. He roughly shoved the girl into the back seat, then got in himself and closed the car door. They didn't come out again. I stood not far away, opened my phone, and connected to the in-car camera footage. As the picture and sound came through on my phone, I was already rolling the wheelchair back, inch by inch. What, weren't you mad at me today? Or did you come anyway? David Miller was pressing down on her, his eyes playful. I missed you, sweetheart. I know you had to be with Emily, I just felt wronged. Yesterday we said we'd go see the sea, and in the afternoon you disappeared. Jessica sobbed, her fingers tightly gripping David Miller's bare back. Line after line of fresh red marks were clearly visible. Last night's battle looked fierce. Jessica, don't cry, take them off yourself. David Miller ordered. Jessica looked at him with adoration and took them off one by one. I didn't go back to the hospital room. Instead, I stayed in a deserted corner, clutching my phone, spying like a thief. When their passion peaked, David Miller held her, kissing her wildly, his hands busy. She said, I love you so much, sweetheart, I'm willing to suffer any grievance for you. I love you too, silly girl, completely. I pressed record and went back to the hospital bed. I took off my earbuds and stopped listening to what they were saying. The doctor on rounds came in late at night and frowned when she saw the empty room. Where's your family? He only stayed for a little while and now he's gone. I didn't answer. I gave a sad smile and asked her, Doctor, I'm not planning on having a child anymore. How soon can I be discharged? The doctor was stunned for a moment. After telling me the time frame and giving instructions, she turned and left. David Miller didn't come back that entire night. The next morning, he appeared in the hospital room doorway, disheveled and looking exhausted. Emily, I'm sorry, there was something urgent at the company. After I dealt with it, I was afraid of disturbing your rest, so I went home first. Lying had become as natural to him as breathing. Looking at the person who had become so ingrained in my life, my still beating heart felt like it had been violently pushed off a cliff built of love, plummeting into a bottomless abyss. Oh, right, I brought you some clothes. Change into something else. He took out a bag and casually apologized, saying, there was a new dress you bought that I got dirty, so I threw it away. Buy a new one when you have time, your husband will pay. I smiled and said okay. David Miller didn't want to go to the company, but phone calls kept coming, one after another. After being woken up 5 times, I finally said, go to the company. Don't worry about me. Only then did he sigh in relief and leave reluctantly. I stayed in the hospital room and made a call. Soon, I received all of Jessica's information. Her social media name was Princess Jess. Her bio was every day with Dave. She updated it with many daily routines, including traveling abroad and showing off designer bags and shoes. The naive intern who wore a denim skirt, white shirt, canvas shoes in front of me was, behind the scenes, a pampered mistress with a taste for luxury goods and tight dress. The heads in all their photos showing affection were covered with stickers. She had been updating for almost half a year. Over 500 posts were all about her little daily life with her rich boss from the company. She even had quite a few followers, over 100,000. The earliest post was on my birthday. The boss was drunk, and I secretly kissed him. He didn't refuse. He even said I was cute. That night, David Miller came back and we spent a passionate night together. He kept mumbling about wanting to have a child with me. I twitched my lips and scrolled to the latest post. The new dress he said he'd gotten dirty and thrown away was clearly visible, being worn by her. That dress was a gift from David Miller when I had recovered after being severely depressed for half a year following my second pregnancy loss. To me, it was the only memento of my unborn child. I had never been willing to wear it. Not just because it was my most expensive piece of clothing, but because it held such extraordinary meaning. I had kept that dress in the deepest part of my closet. There was no way it could have been accidentally pulled out and gotten dirty. I found the in-car camera footage from last night and skipped to the end. David Miller's voice was low and husky as he drove Jessica, her clothes torn, directly back to the mansion. "Why can't I go in? Emily is very alert. Don't cause trouble." Jessica's eyes were red with grievance, until Emily found her my most precious dress. She clearly knew the meaning of that dress. She instantly looked happy. Her stocking-clad foot provocatively hooked David Miller's chin. "Then help me put it on. You were capable of taking them off. How can you not have the patience to put them on?" There was fire in David Miller's eyes. He impatiently helped her put on her clothes. Then he pressed down on her again. "Even though there's a stain, it's a treasure to me. I'll cherish it," Jessica concluded the post playfully. Underneath, a large group of people were speculating, wishing them well, and shipping them. It was sickening. After I was discharged from the hospital, he still stayed with me all day. "Until that day," he said with a troubled expression, "Sweetheart, we had a good performance today. The company is having a team-building event. I can't avoid it." "I haven't been there for a week." I nodded. He still unhurriedly bought my soup for me and even picked out my clothes before going to the restroom to get ready. I opened Jessica's profile. "It's my birthday today. Looking forward to it, humph." David Miller put on a blue shirt and carefully styled his hair, just about to leave. I spoke. "I'll go with you. I haven't been to the company in a long time." "Oh, really? That's good too." He paused, then helped me pick out clothes. Before leaving, I casually grabbed a blue shawl. It was the same brand as his shirt. At the hotel, everyone seemed to have arrived. David Miller slowly pushed the wheelchair through the doorway. "Everyone quiet down, we're just waiting for Mr. Miller." At the dinner table, Jessica, who was originally dressed in a flashy blue strapless short dress, froze when she saw me. All three of us were wearing blue. But Jessica's dress looked cheap and vulgar, making her stand out awkwardly. After half a second, she put on a joyful expression and took me from David Miller. "Oh, Mrs. Miller, you're here? Your illness is better? That's wonderful." "I'm all right," I replied with a polite smile, letting her push me. The dinner was lively. At the large table seating 20, Jessica was originally sitting diagonally across from me. Midway through, she deliberately came over with a glass of wine. "Mrs. Miller, you look so young. Jessica is truly envious. This toast is for you. I hope you stay young and beautiful forever." Who toasts like that? The lively atmosphere at the table instantly turned awkwardly quiet. Seeing that I wasn't reacting, David Miller gently took her wine glass and glared at her. "Nonsense, you can't make fun of Mrs. Miller like that. Sit down." She took the opportunity to sit down next to him. Right next to him, looking meek. I smiled, showing no emotion. She, however, couldn't help but look at me several times. Mr. Miller, you shouldn't drink too much wine. Mr. Miller, be careful, there are bones in this fish. This soup is good, I'll help you cool it down. Jessica was exceptionally attentive, fussing over David Miller. His colleagues teased her, this assistant is really dedicated, she knows the boss's preferences inside and out. Jessica smiled shyly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, it's my duty. Mr. Miller has a weak stomach, he needs to be careful. The gossipy deputy manager teased me, Mrs. Miller, are you pregnant? Your belly is so big. Clatter, Jessica's soup spoon instantly slipped. Hot soup almost splashed onto my face. I'm sorry, Mrs. Miller, I didn't mean to. Her face was grim. She bent down under the table to pick up the soup spoon. David Miller took over the conversation. Tom, stop teasing. She's not pregnant, she's just been sick. Jessica returned to the table, her expression visibly improved. I suddenly spoke. I'm planning to get pregnant. That's why I'm doing IVF. David Miller hadn't expected me to suddenly reveal the truth. In his mind, my inability to get pregnant had always been a source of embarrassment for him. Everyone's expressions varied. After all, when doing this, one person must have an issue. Only Jessica was busy eating, her head down. A shrimp was just moved in front of me. Before I could even speak, David Miller had naturally picked it up, ready to peel it for me. I didn't say anything else. David Miller had peeled shrimp for me for 10 years. He knew that shrimp was the only seafood I ate. Here. He held the peeled shrimp with his chopsticks and naturally fed it to Jessica, who was sitting next to him. Sensing my gaze, David Miller's face changed in the next second, realizing his mistake, and he started scolding. Don't you have hands? You're always afraid of shrimp but you still eat it. Are you treating your boss like a workhorse? Boss, I won't dare next time. It was passed off as a joke, and everyone laughed. Jessica pouted while eating the shrimp, looking natural and satisfied. David Miller quickly peeled another one, and using the chopsticks he had just fed her with, he naturally picked up that shrimp and brought it to my mouth. No, thanks. I leaned back, clearly disgusted. After being rejected, he finally realized those chopsticks had been in Jessica's mouth. His face looked a bit awkward. Sorry, Emily, I wasn't paying attention. He got new chopsticks and spent the rest of the meal peeling shrimp for me. He warmed my soup and picked out food for me. He was meticulous and attentive in every detail. Even as the event was ending, he ordered a bouquet of flowers delivered to apologize to me. Jessica's initial cheerfulness and excitement had long vanished, her face now showing visible grievance. Someone next to her kindly asked, Jessica, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Nothing, my boyfriend was mean to me. She wiped away her tears, head down. David Miller didn't react at all. After the event, I sat quietly in the passenger seat. David Miller was still rambling, explaining his behavior today. But my mind was filled with the image of Jessica, naked, on this very seat. I looked down. Sure enough, I saw a faint white mark. That's from Tom spilling a drink in my car. I'm going to make him pay for it. He sighed, looking annoyed. But his phone suddenly rang. Connected to the car's Bluetooth, a woman's crying voice came through the moment it was answered. He immediately switched to his phone. Okay. I understand. The car braked abruptly. Emily, something came up at the company, I have to go back. Take a taxi home first, I'll be back soon. I nodded, not saying a word. He kissed my forehead, helped me out of the car, and made sure I got a taxi before leaving. He even watched me go. After the taxi drove past the blind spot, I spoke. Driver, follow him. The driver glanced at me, and with a tacit understanding, maintained a distance and followed. The car stopped at the entrance of the hotel where we had just eaten. David Miller quickly got out and punched the male colleague who was holding Jessica's arm. The colleague's face instantly turned bruised, and he fell to the ground. Try laying a hand on her again, you bastard. Jessica stood nearby, her eyes full of tears. The faint discussions among the colleagues reached my ears. It was James pulling on Jessica earlier, trying to get her contact info, and he even forced 2 drinks on her at the table. Mr. Miller couldn't stand it anymore. So, David Miller had rushed back to defend her. The new male colleague left, shocked and apologizing, while the others also quickly dispersed to avoid getting involved. So the whole company knew about this. Today, they had just been treating me like an idiot. The remaining 2 stood on the street, kissing without restraint. Jessica's eyes were teary. He almost bullied me. I wish you had come a little sooner. It's okay now, I'm here. At that moment, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. My heavy abdomen suddenly dropped, and I spat out a mouthful of blood, collapsing to the ground. He stood not far away. He didn't even look at me. When I woke up again, the first thing I saw was mother-in-law, sharp-tongued and unkind. She stood with her arms crossed, looking coldly at me lying near the emergency room doorway, and sneered, "Honestly, Emily, if you can't have kids, why don't you step aside? Don't waste my son's prime years. As a woman, you can't even bear a child. What's the point of all those shots? You've wasted all my son's money, you're a jinx. And look at yourself in the mirror, how dare you occupy the position of Mrs. Miller? Old and faded, do you deserve it?" I was 30 this year. I had been with David Miller for 10 years, accompanying him from nothing to everything. I gave up my status as the pampered daughter of a billionaire family to be with him while he started his company. Dad and Michael gave David Miller all the help he needed, taking him from being broke to where he is today. I didn't travel across the country to marry into his family just to be despised by this old woman. I had tolerated mother-in-law for 10 years. Today, I finally couldn't stand it anymore. I stood up and pushed her. "Emily, what are you doing?" David Miller burst through the door with a roar. He had just arrived, and seeing this, he slapped me hard across the face without hesitation. "Are you crazy? How dare you hit my mother?" "Son, she didn't hit me." Mother-in-law also panicked. For so many years, no matter how much she picked on me, she always knew my family's background. They weren't people that ordinary folk like them could mess with. If she had really gotten into a physical fight, who knew how long she would live? David Miller sobered up immediately. He opened his mouth in a panicked way. "Then you were." "I'm sorry, Emily, I didn't mean to." He tried to approach me, but I took a step back. The last bit of warmth I felt for him had completely vanished with that slap. I looked at his wrinkled shirt, and there was even a glaring red mark on his neck. Realizing his mistake, he quickly pulled his shirt to cover his neck. "Emily, I was wrong, it was a misunderstanding." "Are you okay?" Seeing T. Had I remained silent, he knew he was in the wrong and panicked. The next second, he slapped himself hard across the face twice. I remained silent. David Miller had never received such cold treatment from me before. His face also turned grim. "If you don't want to talk, rest for a bit. I'll take Mom out so she doesn't bother you." David Miller led mother-in-law away. He thought I would go rest. But I didn't. I pushed the door open and walked over. He and mother-in-law were standing around the corner. Behind the door, David Miller lowered his voice. "Mom, what's the rush? Isn't she doing IVF? If she gets pregnant, it will be even less likely for her to ruin my business. After all, she'll have to think about her son. I'm just impatient seeing her useless in that role." "What's the rush? You know my father-in-law and Michael's assets. Even a small leak would be enough for us to live on forever. Their family is about to give me a big investment. Once I get that money, I won't be lacking anything. Once Emily has a child, everything will fall into place naturally. Their family's assets will all be mine in the future. You can take out your anger however you want then." Mother-in-law said viciously, "I've already found a home remedy. During her recovery period after birth, ILL for her and make her have severe bleeding. Why should she always be superior to me? I just asked her to wash my underwear, why the long face? It's only right for a daughter-in-law to serve her mother-in-law. She should be a slave to me her whole life. If she's unwilling, then she should just die." David Miller was impatient. "You figure it out yourself. I don't want to get involved in messy business. Murder, theft of property, using pregnancy, leaving behind offspring. These chilling words, words that could make one's blood run cold, were spoken by the person I had lived with for 10 years. I had never treated mother-in-law poorly, but she still wished for my death, and in the most painful way. In these 10 years, I had used my blood and sweat to raise 2 ungrateful people. I couldn't stop trembling. Clenching my teeth, I moved to the women's restroom and picked up the phone to call Dad. Michael was also there. Seeing my family's concerned eyes, I slowly spoke. Dad, David Miller is cheating with an intern, and mother-in-law is planning to kill me after I give birth. Dad's face darkened on the other end of the line, and he immediately smashed an antique vase worth $8 million. Rage gathered on Michael's face, veins bulging on his forehead. He had already started making calls. Sweetheart, wait for us, we're coming. Do you have somewhere to go? Dad will buy you an apartment first. Dad swore he would utterly destroy him, and Michael, with a grim face, began directing company matters, determined to make David Miller regret everything for the rest of his life. After being comforted by my family, I hung up the phone, trembling all over, and hid back under the covers, crying my heart out. Actually, there was a reason I had been so good to David Miller, even going so far as to harm my own body with IVF. The year we first got together, when a mugger attacked me on the street, he didn't hesitate to shield me, grabbing the knife with his bare hands. The sharp blade almost severed half his palm, but it saved my life. But now he didn't love me. Not only did he want to take all my family's money, he wanted me dead. The man who was willing to be shattered for me in the face of death was also having an affair with another woman while I was unconscious and plotting how to kill me when I was vulnerable. What was love anyway? The door opened. David Miller came in, looking distressed, to comfort me. Mother-in-law followed him in. I looked at mother-in-law's sharp, unkind face, clutching the bedsheet, remembering what she had said. I didn't give her a pleasant look, staring at her coldly. She looked guilty and avert. At her gaze, leaving. Just as David Miller was about to sit down, my eyes fixed on the red mark on his neck, and I didn't say a word. He instantly became nervous. Emily, it's not what you think. He explained with an apologetic look, I've been stressed lately, I must have scratched it. But you, why did you faint again? That's too dangerous. Why didn't you come home? Where did you go? Seeing that I didn't answer, he knew he was in the wrong and changed the subject. What did the doctor say this time? How soon can you get pregnant? I looked at him. There was no love left in David Miller's eyes. He never cared about the process of egg retrieval, about all the terrifying things I had to face countless times. All he cared about was the child. After all, the child represented my family's wealth. So greedy, and so base. I didn't answer, instead asking, you never used perfume before, why start now? His face turned pale. Just bought it on a whim. Thought you might like it. Disgusting. That scent was from Jessica. So strong, like a cat marking its territory. He suddenly moved closer to me, his hand gently reaching in. Wife, it's been a while. Don't. I stopped his hand. I can't get pregnant anyway. Don't bother. Okay, you rest well. He left, looking extremely displeased. Less than half an hour later, my text message notification came in. Your supplementary credit card was charged $1,200,000 at Lakeside Mall. To give me enough security, David Miller had always kept the primary credit card in my hands these past years. He had a lot of expenses for business and entertaining, and the amounts were large, but I never paid attention. But today, I happened to open Jessica's update. The latest post was 2 minutes ago. The employee who harassed me yesterday got fired. Sweetheart said he'd buy me a bag to make it up to me. I'm not easily appeased. The accompanying picture was a mirror selfie inside a luxury goods store. I recognized the bag at a glance. It was one I had always wanted but couldn't bring myself to buy. David Miller was nouveau riche. When I insisted on marrying him, Dad supported him in starting his business and company. I felt for him, knowing he worked hard for his money, and I had cut back on my former lavish spending habits. But this bag, I had been wanting it for almost 5 years. David Miller came home late that night. "Wife, look what I bought you." He came in carrying an orange bag, showing it off proudly. He showed me the gift with satisfaction. A set of Hermes dinnerware. "You love to cook, don't you?" "I love your cooking too. I bought this especially for you." I thanked him with a smile, feigning distress. "It's too expensive, don't buy things like this next time." He gently stroked my head. "I don't care about the money. You've sacrificed so much for me, you deserve the best." For a moment, I almost thought he was sincere. Even when he didn't love me anymore, his eyes could fake it so well. Seeing that I wasn't angry anymore, he sighed in relief, kissed my forehead, and went to change clothes. Looking at the dinnerware in front of me, a strong wave of nausea rose within me. These things were just side items he had to buy to get Jessica that bag. "Look at this." David Miller suddenly appeared behind me after changing clothes, showing off 2 plane tickets. "I see you haven't been in a good mood lately. I took some time off to take you to see the sea. Haven't you always wanted to go?" In that instant, looking at my reflection in his eyes, I nodded. This would be the last time. After he went to pack, I sat alone in the living room, tears falling uncontrollably. In just one day, David Miller drove me over 300 kilometers to a neighboring city to stay. He said he had a surprise for me and took me to the beach, covering my eyes. When I opened them again, I was surrounded by a circle of heart-shaped bonfires. "Emily, today is your birthday." He knelt down on one knee, took out a diamond ring, and held it out to me. "I love you." I was stunned. "Today is not my birthday." David Miller froze for a moment, then smiled sadly. "I've been too tired lately. I'm sorry, wife, I haven't been good enough." "Then let's just celebrate it as a special day," I said, taking the ring and putting it on. It was a bit loose. But looking at the sincerity in his eyes, and remembering the things he had said, my nose stung at that moment. The pent-up grievances almost overflowed. I wanted to ask him why he didn't just say he didn't love me anymore. Why did he want to kill me? 10 years of love, was it not enough to spare my life? On the deserted beach, he held me and said he would love me forever. The next second, he reached out and began to take off my clothes. Just as things were getting passionate, a cry suddenly broke in. Jessica appeared before us, her eyes teary and blurred. "Mr. Miller, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My family member passed away in the neighboring city. Could you please give me a ride? I can't get a ticket. I'm scared being alone." David Miller's face turned extremely grim at the interruption. Jessica stood there stubbornly, head down. In her eyes, there was an overflowing smugness. "Go ahead, the deceased is the most important." I showed no expression. "Then you wait for me at the hotel, I'll be back soon." After David Miller reluctantly parted with me and left, I returned to the hotel. I don't know how long passed. In the distance, a grand display of fireworks suddenly began. The words SS Love appeared in the sky in fireworks. As I watched, tears streamed down my face. A notification told me that Jessica had just updated. "It's my birthday today, and the boss said he's giving me the most special birthday present I've seen. Both gifts, and I love them. One was fireworks, the other, she didn't say. It was just about hurting me badly." Turns out, David Miller hadn't forgotten my birthday after all. I was just a part of their game. I took off the diamond ring and threw it in the trash can. Jessica appearing like this every time clearly meant she couldn't wait any longer. I didn't wait for David Miller to come back. I checked out of the hotel alone and went home. Dad and Michael were already waiting for me at the mansion doorway. There was no expression on their faces. Often, the calmer they looked, the bigger the storm would be. After David Miller received my message, he sent a text. "Emily, I've been really busy working late at the company these past 2 days. Can you apologize to Dad for me? I'll definitely take him out to have a good time once I'm done. He just didn't want to humble himself in front of my family." Even after consistently receiving their favors and help, he still couldn't lower his head. In the past, for the sake of his pride, I always spoke up for him. This time, I didn't reply at all. The family doctor Dad brought gave me a checkup and wrote a report. Michael looked at the bruises on my abdomen, his eyes full of heartache. Dad was even more furious. Ignoring my protests, he looked at the surveillance footage. After seeing mother-in-law's daily bullying, he had to swallow 2 quick-acting heart pills to recover. Michael said with a dark face, "Sister, you don't need to worry about anything. I'll make a few calls, and in a month, his company will be ruined. I'll make him a beggar on the street. Our Lin family's money isn't that easy to take." My cousin also came. Even though my mother was gone, I was still well protected by my family. All night, my cousin held me and cried with heartache. After that meal, all my pain was soothed by my family. I planned to divorce him directly and make him leave with nothing. I didn't want to waste the rest of my life on a jerk. Unexpectedly, the doorbell rang. My cousin went to open the door and a moment. T later asked me, "Who is this, Emily? She says she's your friend." I walked over to look. It was Jessica. She was still wearing a simple white dress. The only difference was that she was holding her still flat stomach with her hand, looking at me smugly. She spoke righteously and confidently. "Mrs. Miller, I've come to tell you that I'm pregnant. If you can't have children, please leave David. Don't be so selfish." My cousin was a weightlifter, built like a tank at over 200 pounds. Hearing that, she slapped Jessica across the face. Her face instantly swelled up, red and high. Dad and Michael also heard and came out, their faces dark, staring at her. Jessica didn't recognize them and looked completely fearless. "Emily, can you stop being so shameless? An old hen that can't lay an egg, do a few shots actually help? You haven't even started menopause yet, have you?" She looked at me playfully, showing off. I pulled back Michael and Dad, who were about to lose it. My cousin rolled up her sleeves and rushed forward, delivering 2 more loud slaps. "Men don't hit women, I'll do it for them." Jessica hadn't expected my cousin to hit her so hard. She was so scared she fell to the ground and started wailing. David Miller's car screeched to a halt at the mansion doorway. He yelled with a dark face, "Jessica, what are you doing?" Dad stepped forward and directly kicked him, aiming for his chest, the force undiminished by the years. "David Miller, stop pretending. You want me to have your child and die from severe bleeding? You really are good at scheming." I looked at him with a cold smile. David Miller's face turned pale with panic, then instantly shifted to hatred. "Why does your family always look down on me? I was called someone who married into money. Why should I put up with that? 10 years, and you couldn't even lay an egg. What's wrong with me finding someone new? Jessica is pregnant. No one is going to hurt her. David Miller shielded her, his face full of fury. Michael scoffed and made a phone call. David Miller's phone rang immediately. "What?" "Withdraw the investment." He staggered, almost falling over. Dad also smiled. "Now, get your butt to the courthouse and divorce my daughter. You'll leave with nothing. Otherwise, I don't mind making you serve 2 years. Someone in business, none of them are clean." Dad spoke lightly, but it drained the color from David Miller's face. "Emily, you're ruthless. Is it great to have a bit of money? David Miller, never relied on women to make a living. You couldn't have children, I supported you for 10 years, that's enough mercy and righteousness." Even at this point, he was still feeling self-righteous. Mother-in-law, who had rushed over after hearing the news, saw my cousin's build and the row of neatly dressed bodyguards from the Lin family. Her legs gave out. She didn't even dare to approach. I didn't say another word to him and got divorced immediately. David Miller, besides that broken company, lost even a place to stay overnight. As they left, Jessica loudly declared, "Emily, I still won. David has the company, I have a child, and all you have are your age spots." Idiot. I didn't look back. After all, the life lesson I was giving them had just begun. Jessica acted swiftly. A month later, she held a wedding and became the new Mrs. Miller. The company could have still struggled on. Even after my brother withdrew the investment, David Miller had gritted his teeth and managed to hold on to it. On the wedding day, Jessica was visibly pregnant. She even sent me an invitation. My cousin threw it in the trash can without me even looking at it. No rush. I was waiting. 8 months later, Jessica gave birth. She had a son. David Miller had double good news today. He landed a huge deal that would earn him $200 million if it succeeded. He was so excited he almost fainted. Mother-in-law was even more smug, showing off to the whole world and even sending me a text message. "Useless slut, I knew you couldn't lay an egg. This is your retribution." I calmly composed a text message and sent it. David Miller, still immersed in the joy of having a son, took out his phone. "You still don't know, the reason neither of us could have children wasn't me, but you, David Miller. You have azoospermia. Wishing you happiness. Greenhat.jpg." David Miller was the one with the fertility issue. Given his condition, he would never have a child without IVF. But Jessica hadn't done IVF at all. After 10 months of pregnancy, the child had been born. This text message was like a fishbone stuck in David Miller's throat. It choked him, making him unable to breathe. How could this be? For 10 years, he had always thought it was my fault. He didn't believe it. But looking at Jessica holding the child, his mind was in utter chaos. For a whole week, he couldn't sleep at night. The joy of having a child couldn't possibly cover up this potential truth. David Miller still went to get checked. He went to the neighboring city alone and quietly. The results came back. Azoospermia. Jessica had put a green hat on him. David Miller's eyes were bloodshot. He went insane and drove his car directly into his son's baby's celebration. Jessica was run over twice by his car on the spot. It wasn't until she was lying on the ground, covered in blood, looking at David Miller's grim face, that she finally confessed the truth out of fear. It turned out Jessica, following her parents' advice, wanted to marry him quickly and force her way in. After realizing she couldn't get pregnant with David Miller, she had a passionate night with her first love, putting a green hat on him. David Miller's mother collapsed on the spot when she learned the truth. Her heart stopped beating immediately. The old woman who had been causing trouble her whole life was literally angered to death. David Miller blamed all of this on Jessica. He brutally broke Jessica's legs. When he tried to choke the infant, a pair of silver handcuffs clicked onto him. David Miller froze. His pride and anger now turned into overwhelming fear in his eyes. It turned out the person in charge of the big project he was collaborating with was a fraud. That person had long absconded with the funds, leaving behind a deficit of hundreds of millions. David Miller became responsible for everything and was sentenced to serve 2 years. Michael smiled faintly on the sofa when he heard the news. "Anyone who messes with my sister has to pay the price and learn their lesson." David Miller completely broke down. He ended up in prison. Jessica became crippled and was left with the child. Her story became well known far and wide. No one dared to take her in. To make a living, she could only wash dishes in a small restaurant. In just a month, she and the child were emaciated. All the luxury goods were sold, and her parents took everything, leaving her to fend for herself. 3 years later, when David Miller was released from prison, he knelt down at the doorway of my mansion to repent. "Emily, I was wrong. I was a beast. Can you give me another chance? I'll spend my life making it up to you." He looked decades older, his back stooped. A large basin of dirty water was thrown out of the mansion. "Get lost. Miss is getting married soon. Beggars shouldn't come asking here. They'll be giving things away on the street later." Emily, married? David Miller's face turned pale. The last thread in his mind snapped. He had thought I was his only salvation. But now, his life was already a mess. David Miller refused to accept any of this and tried to stop me, staying near my house every day. As a result, Jessica, who heard the news and still harbored resentment, found out. On a dark and stormy night, she kidnapped him with her first love. By now, he was probably in international tears. As for me, I was rid of the jerk. My life was still shining brightly.